What was meant to be a quiet 66th birthday celebration for former Kaduna Governor Nasir El-Rufai has exploded into one of the most intense political showdowns Abuja has witnessed in years. Instead of candles and cake, it was cameras and confrontation. Instead of birthday wishes, it was interrogation rooms and criminal charges. And no, he was not dragged out of his home in handcuffs. That's what makes this story even more dramatic. He walked in himself. On the morning of Monday, February 16, 2026, El-Rufai showed up at the headquarters of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission in Abuja. Calm. Calculated. Defiant. A man fully aware that the political temperature around his name is boiling. He kept his promise to honor an invitation. But what awaited him was far bigger than routine questioning. Because while he stepped into the EFCC office voluntarily, something heavier was already waiting for him at the Federal High Court. Fresh charges. And not just the usual political corruption allegations. The federal government is now accusing him of cybercrime. Specifically, of being linked to the alleged interception of communications involving the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu. Let that sink in. This is no longer just about state finances or administrative decisions during his 8 years in Kaduna. This is about national security. About alleged phone tapping. About accusations that carry the weight of treasonable implications. The gloves are off. But to understand how we got here, you have to rewind a few days. On Thursday, February 12th, El-Rufai returned to Nigeria from Cairo, Egypt. According to him, he came back to rest. To recover. To recalibrate. But the airport was not welcoming. At Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja, operatives reportedly moved in. Officials of the DSS. Allegedly acting on instructions connected to the ICPC and the NSA's office. It was tense. He refused to move without a warrant. He demanded to see formal documentation. Voices were raised. The scene drew attention. In the end, they did not take him away that night. But his passport, and that of his aide, were seized. That airport standoff lit the fuse. Shortly after, his legal team made it clear, "We are coming to the EFCC." They gave a time. 10 a.m. Monday. His birthday. And he showed up. But outside the EFCC headquarters, Abuja felt like a political battleground. Supporters gathered, chanting that he is a victim of persecution. That his only crime is speaking against the current administration. That this is payback for his political realignment. Opponents gathered too. Holding placards. Demanding accountability. Accusing him of leaving Kaduna buried under debt and financial strain. Two narratives. One man. One building. Inside, EFCC investigators were reportedly digging into petitions, including one from the Kaduna State House of Assembly accusing his administration of mismanaging hundreds of billions of naira. The figure being mentioned in public discourse is staggering: over 423 billion Nigerian nairas allegedly siphoned or mismanaged. Outside, Nigeria watched. But then came the twist that changed everything. The cybercrime charge. The government claims that during an interview on Arise TV, El-Rufai referenced knowledge of compromised communications involving the NSA. Prosecutors are now interpreting that statement as evidence of involvement or awareness of illegal interception. Under the Cybercrimes Act, that's not a minor offense. It opens the door to longer detention, stricter bail conditions, and a legal battle that shifts the spotlight from financial audits to national security. That is a strategic move. Corruption cases can drag on for years. Evidence battles. Technical defenses. Endless adjournments. But cybercrime and national security. Those charges change the pace. They change the stakes. And politically, this could not be happening at a more explosive moment. El-Rufai is not just any former governor. He was a founding figure in the APC. A strong voice in the internal power shift that eventually brought Bola Tinubu to the presidency. He once stood firmly inside the ruling circle. Now, he stands outside it. After his defection to the African Democratic Congress and his increasingly sharp criticisms of federal policies, the relationship turned icy. Some say hostile. He has reportedly aligned himself with opposition figures like Atiku Abubakar, openly speaking about 2027 and the need for political change. In Nigerian politics, that is not a small move. So the question many are whispering is simple: is this about law, or is this about politics? Is this accountability catching up with power, or power responding to rebellion? Inside that interrogation room, investigators are likely pressing him hard. Financial documents, contracts, loans, alleged debt profiles, communications, statements made in interviews. Every word dissected. And as evening approaches, another question hangs in the air. Will he walk out? Or will this birthday end in detention? If he is held overnight, it will send shockwaves across the north, where he still commands influence. If he is released, his supporters will frame it as a moral victory, proof that he cannot be intimidated. Either way, the court case tied to the cybercrime allegations is already in motion. That means this is not a one-day drama. This is the opening act of a prolonged legal and political war. El-Rufai has always projected resilience. A man unafraid of confrontation. A politician who thrives in controversy. But facing the combined machinery of the EFCC, DSS, ICPC, and the office of the NSA is not a minor scuffle. It is a full institutional storm. And storms reshape landscapes. As the sun sets on what should have been a celebration, one thing is clear: this is bigger than a birthday. Bigger than a single interrogation. Bigger than even one former governor. This is a test of political strength. A battle over narrative. A signal to other power players watching quietly from the sidelines. Is this the beginning of a long legal winter for a once untouchable political heavyweight? Or is this the spark that reignites his political fire ahead of 2027? Nigeria is watching. And tonight, somewhere inside Abuja, a man who once commanded one of the most powerful states in the country is sitting across from investigators instead of sitting beside a birthday cake. The next move could change everything.